Okay. Does anybody remember what happened last time?
Alex says no.
Well, besides Alex, does anybody remember what happened last time?
Larkin said maybe, but probably no.
Um. So yeah, I think you guys talked to a bunch of people here in the yawning portal. I think you guys talked to Dern and the bartender a fair bit about getting into Undermountain. The main way appears to be through the giant pit in front of you, and there's a bunch of different levels. I think a couple of places of note that he had pointed out was that down through Undermountain, there are ways to get to Skullport. I think somebody had asked about, or they had in conversation had also swung around to there's a floor about 5 levels down into the depths of this place that's actually a druid's place of residence, kind of a forest built into the place under the mountain. I think aside from that, you guys had also talked to Volo a little bit, and then you had right before we finished up talked to Yalister, Yalister Silvermane, who's in front of you. I think Teresa had met him almost half a year ago in Portney and Zaru and Chulton. He provided partial payment for the information on where the teleportation circle to the heart of Uteo had been, and he was going to look into getting payment for the rest of your guys' map of Chult. And then I think Lolly, he had given you what information he had about the whole issue of the embezzlement of the former Open Lord of Waterdeep, and trying to follow up with a necklace that the Open Lord's son Raynar had. I think that was just about everything. Um, for Liz, I have her token on the board, but I'm not sure if Liz came with you guys or not. So I think that's up to her to either just kind of meander in, or we can go from there. Any comments or questions on anything, or anything you want me to go more into depth on?
Not that I can think of. I was thinking that we should try to. I think last week I was trying to say that we should go back and see what we need to do with the rest of the living undead plant things, because we got some information about Xanathar. We got some information about the a mysterious noble family. And of course we have the information about Neverember's son that's missing.
Well, the sun's not missing. He's about 40 feet away from you. He's talking to Mert over in the far side of the bar.
I mean, he could be missing if we don't look at him.
True. I think there was a locket that Yalister knew that Dagult had given to Raynar that has gone missing, and he's pretty sure. I'll just kind of recap that a little bit.
The locket. Okay.
Yeah. So
I wrote I wrote these notes wrong.
Raynar's not missing. I think some of you actually walked past him without realizing it earlier, but Yalister had pointed out that he is having drinks with Mert, who you guys met at the hero celebration ceremony. Mert being a older, wealthy adventurer of some renown in Waterdeep. Uh, he seems to be regaling Raynar of tales of the past as they share drinks. But the locket they know that Raynar had seems to have lost, and Raynar doesn't really seem to know that it's significant in any way besides his dad gave it to him.
And that's these guys over here, right?
Yeah, Mert's the big mustachioed dude, and Raynar is the more dashing looking tunic wearing fella.
Okay, well, I'd like to go talk to him.
Okay. So as you approach the table, you see Mert's rather large, still obviously well muscled, but also well eaten form on one side of the table, and it looks like Raynar and another individual is sitting next to him or sitting across the table from him. Raynar himself is a rather dashing young guy. Looks like he probably he has a rapier hanging off his side, and he looks like there's a decent chance that he's not a complete idiot with it. And he seems to be kind of bemusedly listening to Mert and enjoying a drink. And as you come up, Mert notices you and raises his mug and says, "Oh, we meet again. How are you? How are you tonight? Have you got drinks yet?"
Why, yes, I have a nice glass of wine that I procured from the wonderful bartender over here, Dermot. Yes, we are quite enjoying ourselves. We've made acquaintances all over.
Ah, fantastic. And he shifts over into the booth a little bit and pats the seat next to him and says, "Well, don't be a stranger. Have a seat. Miss Portier, you could come too. And I'm sorry, Xanthiel, maybe you could find a sturdy stool to rest your haunches."
She just kind of looks at him strangely and just, I don't know, stands next to the table.
I mean, he's friendly and slightly drunk.
Yeah, but like, it's just, yeah. I don't think a horse could really sit.
Yeah. He does remember all of your names. You note, even in his stupor, he definitely, or not stupor, but in his, he looks into,
Inebriated state.
he's inebriated, but he definitely recognizes all of you, which is interesting because I think you had a very brief conversation. Do you want me to bring Liz, do you want me to bring that token in? Do you want to be present, or do you want to not be present?
Yeah, I'll be present.
I think you would recognize Mert because he's locally famous. But I don't know if he would necessarily know you. Just because he knows the heroes of Waterdeep or the heroes of Schult.
Yeah, he probably doesn't know me, and I'm just gonna stand there with them.
Cool. And Raynar looks over to Mert and says, do you know these folks well, Mert? Mert says, "Oh, well, they..." Go ahead, Lolly.
So Lolly will introduce himself and say, "Oh yes, we met Mert at our at the welcoming ceremony for the heroes of Chult. I'm obviously not a hero of Chult, but I am in a party with them, trying to adventure around and learn new things and see new places. I'm a retired investigator from Baldur's Gate. My name is Lolly Goodfollow." And then I'll introduce the others. And then I'll just kind of, have a conversation with Mert. And see what he's been up to since we last talked.
So I think, let's see here. I'm just looking at something real quick. Xanthiel, I think... Oh, do I have that? Oh, I don't have that anymore. I'm just checking something real quick, sorry. Just check Teresa. So Xanthiel, you would notice that Raynar, well, he's being quite friendly. You notice he looks at you guys and then looks back over at Yalister, across the bar, and looks into his beer and kind of shakes his head and then just kind of snaps back to like being friendly. Nothing like untoward, just like you're pretty sure he knows that you guys talk to Yalister. And it's like he's like, oh, okay. So Mert, responding to all the introductions, says, well, it's been a couple of days. I've seen a few different taverns, made a few business deals. Other than that, I've been enjoying my extended retirement. I don't know if any of you are familiar with any of my exploits. I think most of you are rather new to town, but I've been living my best life, if you will. And he raises the mug to his lips and takes a big swig out of it.
Lolly will kind of do a little cheers with him with his wine glass and say, I too am enjoying the wonders of retirement. It's quite wonderful to do whatever you please whenever you please, isn't it?
And he tilts his head back and kind of gives a weird guffaw bark, and is about to slap you on the back, and then realizes you're holding a glass of wine very close to your lips, and kind of does one of those fake out, like he's about to smack you on the back, and goes, oh, yes, absolutely, and has another drink from his mug. It says, so, well, does anything in particular bring you all to the Yawning Portal tonight, or are you all here to just enjoy the ambiance and see if anybody's dumb enough to go down the pit?
Well, we're actually here to ask our bartender friend if he knew any contacts which might be useful for an investigation, which we are doing for our friend Liz here. It turns out there's some odd things that have been happening in the City of the Dead, and she was asked to investigate by her clan or group, or I'm not quite sure what they are. But we decided to help out, and yes, we were trying to get some more answers, and the bartender seemed to be a natural source of information.
Oh, man. Are you... City of the Dead? I haven't been there in a while. It's where all my friends are. I don't like going there much. Well, what did you find? What are you trying to figure out? Was Durnan able to help you?
Well, there's an odd case of, I'm not quite sure how to describe it, but it seems to be some kind of fungus that animates the dead to a certain degree, not in any way that's at all graceful, I would say, but certainly has some powerful effects, judging by one of the monsters that we had to fight in the catacombs.
So you went into the City of the Dead, went into some crypts, and fought some undead.
Quite the retirement, am I right?
I'm not sure if you know what retirement means, old boy. Usually we hang up the sword, or he looks around your person, trying to find a weapon, and sees all the numerous blades on you, and says, or all of them. Usually we try to hang those up when we're retired, but undead. I mean, are you thinking there's something down in Undermountain coming up?
We're not quite sure, to be honest. We were assuming that it is coming from under the City of the Dead. So, with that in mind, we assumed potentially the Undermount, or even perhaps Skullport. We're not 100% sure. it's quite the I can't think of the word, quandary.
Mert kind of snorts when you reference Skullport. Raynar kind of perks up a little bit when you say that. And Mert says, be careful, okay? He looks around and says, like, yeah, Skullport's down there, but don't go scaring people unnecessarily. We've got a kind of live and let live situation with them, but last time I was down there, Skullport was a shadow of its former self. I mean, obviously, or maybe not obviously to you guys. I think most of you are new, but Xanathar works out of there. And Mert's expression has kind of grown a bit more serious now as he's kind of getting into like shop talk. I mean, you can definitely get to Skullport from the Undermountain, but I don't think you're gonna find undead coming out of there. You're more likely to find some drow and some Duragar trying to eke out a living as best they can, and hopefully you don't run across Xanathar's minions down there. But I think
Yes, Lolly will just perk up and say, "Yeah, well, I have actually been to Skullport once or twice myself. Obviously, not for quite a while, but it is a dark and dangerous place, which, to be fair, doesn't seem like the most likely place for whoever might be trying to animate dead with a biological component, but it seemed to be coming from underground, so after the Undermount, it seemed the next logical place."
I mean, yeah, if you want to get there, you might be able to find information there. Maybe the map maker there knows something. Maybe one of the. I think there's. I haven't been there in quite a few years, but from what I've heard, it's the big city. Um, the port and the barracks are still pretty heavily populated because Xanathar's gold spends as well as anybody else's. As far as the city itself goes, um, there may be a few folks still able to eke a business out there. They might know something. Um, I think there's a couple ways to get there if you really want to go. I mean, obviously, he nods his head over to the pit. And as you make that comment, he's like, "Well, Xanathar's got no limbs to grab onto, so it makes sense that he'd slither out, right? Uh, all those eyes." Ugh. Mert kind of gives a shudder. And he says, "But yeah, if you're trying to get down to Skullport, I don't know how you got in last time, but there's obviously the pit, and if you can figure out how to go under the harbor, I've heard that there's still a path that way, although that one's pretty treacherous."
Yeah, I don't believe that we are looking to go there anytime soon. Like I said, I believe it will be a good secondary option, but if at all possible, I do think we should avoid it. It doesn't seem to be the most likely place to find answers to our questions. Um, there are potentially contacts that I might look to look into another question that I might have, though. I have another investigation which I have taken on, which is more of a favor, which I'm trying to find some answers for as well.
And Mert just kind of looks at you like, and
I'll just kind of give him a chagrined look and say, "I suppose you're right. I'm not great at retirement."
you seem to have completely missed the point. Um, uh, well, what is this investigation you're looking into?
I've been asked to look into a situation involving a theft of funds that was asked of me by a rather wealthy patron. It's quite a quandary with no obvious answer, even with all of my years of experience. So, more than anything, it intrigued me as something that I had not seen before.
Raynar kind of thunks his glass down and looks across at you and says, I saw you talking to Yallister. What are you going to ask me the same questions he's been asking me about my dad? He seems exasperated. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I want to know if he seems like he's defensive or if he's just aggravated.
Just exasperated. Like he's here having a drink, as best you can tell. And it's just like, oh, great, I got to deal with this bullshit again. Like there's no like duplicity. He's just like, okay, ask me your damn questions. Is his stance like he's got nothing against you personally. He's just like,
Well,
I was here listening to Mert being drunk, and now I'm dealing with you people.
Yeah. Well, so Lolly's just going to be good-naturedly straightforward with him and just say, well, I did have one main question. Is there any specific memory of the locket which you were given by your father? Can you describe it to me or perhaps draw it for me? I'm curious as to what this pendant could have been. It seems to be a focus in many of the circles which have been thinking of this crime, and I'm just curious to see if potentially it had something to do with it.
Yeah, so he grabs a napkin. Well, I guess I'm just gonna say he grabs a napkin, because why not? And he quickly scrawls out an image that kind of looks like what I'm drawing on the screen right now. And he says, look, okay. There's no love lost between my dad and me. I don't know what the hell he was up to. I don't know if he stole the money. He took it. He didn't give any of it to me. And yeah, he gave me a locket like 3 or 4 months before Elf Lady kicked him out. I mean, no offense to her. She seems like a nice person. That politics bullshit is between my dad and her, and he seems fine up in Neverwinter. But anyway, he gave me this locket, and it was this piece of stone that had 3 little eyes carved into it. And I don't know, I wore it, right? Because it was a gift from my dad. I guess I figured he was trying to be not a shithead for once. And I was wearing it up until a couple weeks ago. A bunch of Zents ambushed me in an alley. I got clunked over the head, and they made off with my coin purse and the amulet. And I haven't seen it since, and honestly, had I known how much trouble it would have been to lose this stupid amulet, I would have left it with my dad in his office when he gave it to me.
So the insight roll that I did was to see if he was lying at any point.
You don't discern anything but just kind of like frustration at having told this story multiple times to multiple people.
I'll tell him, interesting, okay. And would you mind if I kept this drawing? Is that all right?
And he just pushes the napkin over to you and is like, there you go. Have it. You can do what you want. It was gray. It's a gray stone.
Well, thank you very much. It's unfortunate that you've been dragged into this, obviously against your will, and I'm sorry that I happen to be not the first person who has asked you about this. I apologize for bothering you about it, but it is curious to me. It is an investigation in a crime which doesn't make sense to me, which is intriguing. I don't feel that I have any animosity towards you, and I I hope you don't harbor any towards me, so may I buy you a drink for providing me such helpful information?
And he raises his mostly empty tankard and says, "By all means. Look, okay. So those Zents knocked me out, which is mildly embarrassing. But they did, and to the best of my knowledge, I didn't know that stone was special. I still don't know if it's special, but everybody, Yalister, who kind of jerks his head over, Laryl's asked me about it. Uh, Obviously, the Zents wanted it because they took it off me. Who knows if they even know what it was? Um, but if you're gonna follow up on that thing, you probably need to go figure out how to get in touch with the Zents and not piss them off. And I think, I bet you Xanathar is looking for it too at this point because everybody wants that money if it was actually stolen. So be careful. Y'all seem like nice enough people. But like, I really don't know what's up with that stone. I wish my dad would have told me what was up with that stone. But he's fucked off to Neverwinter, and who knows?
Yeah, it's quite intriguing. Maybe the stone had something to do with it. Maybe it's just simple unlucky coincidence. But any information is worth looking into, I suppose. Um, it's better to have too much information than not enough. It's what I've always found in my investigating past.
You know, here's a piece of information. Everybody else is asking me about this stone. My dad's never asked me about this stone once. He sends me letters once in a while, but he doesn't seem to care about this stone at all. So I don't know if that's whatever it is, or if he's got some game inside his games that he's playing. But there's a piece of information for your notebook. Everybody except my dad seems really interested in this stone, and I can't help but think if he had a bunch of money tied up in this stone, he'd be looking for it too.
That would seem logical. Interesting. I do appreciate your time, and yes, I believe I'll grab you a drink, and then, well, if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind sitting with you for a while more and just chit chatting. But I don't have any other specific questions.
Raynar shrugs, and Mert's just kind of been watching all of this, kind of just like it almost looks to anybody who's paying attention. Mert's kind of watching how the boy's comporting himself, just more out of like a curiosity. Yeah, Raynar says, "Well, I mean, Mert, well, you were telling us stories about all your adventuring days. I don't know. Is there anything you can tell these people that you haven't already told them about their questions? Or I don't know. Do you guys have any other questions for Mert? I mean, I'm a son of a dispossessed noble. I'm just kind of here trying to pass my time." And Mert just kind of shrugs and says, "Are there any stories you guys want to hear about my adventuring days?"
No.
So I just snorted. There we go. Uh, Sorry about that. Sorry, I've had an eye infection all week and it's finally clearing. My face is not behaving normally. Yeah, so you can get another drink and spend some time talking. If you want to ask anything specific, let me know. Otherwise, Mert will eventually happily get back to dubious tales of slaying cockatrices, breaking into tombs, and other stuff as he enjoys drinking more and more. And as the conversation gets further away from this locket, Raynar's demeanor generally improves, and he seems to be a nice enough guy. I think Teresa maybe from your perspective, he seems very unaffected for a pretty important noble family title holder. Um, he's not much of a noble dick. He just seems to be like a decent guy compared to a lot of the
To
nobles you've dealt
her,
with.
he's like an ousted noble, a
Mm-hmm.
brat that's wandering the world. But then again, he seems to be taking it in good stride.
Yeah, he doesn't seem bothered that his dad's gone. If anything, as the conversation unfolds, you can tell that there is no love lost between Raynar and Daigle. Like if you ask him about it at all, he just basically just doesn't give a shit about his dad, and he's perfectly happy to. He's kind of, you get the impression right now he's trying to figure out what it means to be Raynar Neverember in Waterdeep after his father, the Open Lord, was cast out, and if anything, he's pretty sure that he wants to be his own person, not like rest on the fame of his father. So, like I said, as far as nobles go, he seems to be on the less shitty side, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Well, that's what she would think. Because in her mind, she's thinking, how can I best use this person?
You get the impression that
To
it.
better.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, how can she? She's thinking, how can she use this person to better her own station?
You get the impression that if you can find a good cause to deploy Raynar against, he would probably be pretty interested in it. Like as Mert tells his stories, Raynar is mostly interested in the rescuings and the standing ups against evildoers. Like he definitely seems kind of idealistic. Um, and if you wanted to bend his ear, you're pretty sure that aligning him to a cause for good or justice is like probably the way to win Raynar over. Like he doesn't seem too interested. Mert definitely revels in both the doing of good, but also the smiting and the gaining of treasure. Raynar seems less interested in those bits, as the Mert kind of just keeps rattling off all of his crazy adventures.
I will definitely keep that in mind.
So as Mert gets deep into his storytelling mode, it seems like this is something that he does quite regularly and kind of just enjoys the process of being the center of attention. Does anybody else have any questions or comments from Mert or Raynar, or anything you guys want to do here, or just spend some time listening, or what do you want to do?
Not for me.
Yeah, no, at some point I
Sometimes-
think we can just leave.
I'm trying to recall more information about the. This is the mysterious noble family that was mentioned last time. Because I didn't think I caught all the information about that.
I'm just trying to think. I know I've given you in a letter a pair of noble families.
Yeah, I remember that.
Did I?
They wanted to contact her.
So I think like families that you've bumped into, like there's the Castellanters who offered you a job, or they very indirectly said that they may have opportunities for you at the medal ceremony. I think there's the two items in your letter that you got from your aunt, basically. I think there are a pair of what look like nobles up here. Um, they just look like a sour couple. I think when you guys came in, they were kind of, you couldn't tell what they were saying, but they did not look like a happy couple. They looked like they were debating something between each other.
I think that was what I was trying to recall.
Okay. Yeah, I think all that happened. I think the only thing I said there was that they're both very well dressed, two middle aged. You would assume nobles. There's no conspicuous signs of what house they're in, but their dress and attitude makes you pretty sure that they're nobility over here. And they were having a heated discussion over their drinks. And I think that's about as much as I said last time. Probably more than I said last time.
Okay.
But you had
Because
observed that.
I think about it. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Because I was going to say, now that I think about it, I should ask Never Ember Boy about this family. If he knows.
Yeah. So he, as you ask him, he says, "Oh, that's the Gralhund family, Mister and Mrs. Orand and Yala. They keep trying to climb." And he kind of winces as he says this. I hate to say it, but they try to climb above their station, and they keep failing to kind of make any progress. I know Orand, I think, wants to be one of the lords, but I'm pretty sure he's not. I don't think he has the temperament for it. I'm assuming they're arguing about some plot or scheme that they have, but mostly they just kind of try to make splashes that most of the established families wouldn't try to make in public, if you know what I mean. And he looks at you kind of one noble scion to another, just kind of like they're trying to be new money. Like,
Understood. So, how recent did this family come into politics in Waterdeep?
I mean, Orand and Yala, they're good business people, right? Like Orand runs a decent set of various business interests. I think he does some. I think he traffics in wine to a fair amount, and then just general mercantile stuff. From what I can tell, it seems like Yala's maybe the brains of the operation, but they. It's hard to tell. I mean, when they're out in public, they're so painfully trying to be the conspicuous nobles that like it kind of detracts from everything. But they've brought themselves up from, not humble beginnings. They're from the Grolland family's been around for ages here, but they've definitely made some good business moves. I think they're just trying the wrong way to kind of break into the next tier of nobility and really get accepted. A little more brash than necessarily quietly influential. But who knows? I mean, maybe they'll make it.
I believe I should pay them a visit at some point.
He looks over at him and looks at their expressions and says, I don't know if tonight's the right night. I mean, you could try, but Oren looks pretty sour, and Yala doesn't look much better either. I can tell you where their villa is, though, if you want to go check it out. Maybe catch one or the other of them. You might have an easier time figuring out whatever it is you need to figure out one-on-one instead of with them as a united front.
If you could, I'd like to at least entertain the idea that they want to present to us. Well, to me, anyway, but...
Yeah, so he'll tell you where in the city their villa is. I don't think it necessarily matters to put it on the map, but you know where the Gralhund villa is at this point. So if you want to go there at some point in the future, just let me know and we can do that. Let me
Okay.
just look something up real quick. You'd think I could spell their name right, but I never can. Um, so are you looking to try and talk to them now, or do you want to wait and talk to them later? How do you want to approach that?
What do you guys want to do? Because this is something that I can open up for the rest of the group.
What are we doing again? I'm sorry.
Okay, basically, Teresa received a letter at the ceremony to talk to some nobles. I forgot about it until now, so that's something that we can also explore.
Where are those nobles?
They're
Well,
about,
well, you said I would know where to find them, but I assume they're
so
in the...
yeah, so they're literally sitting at a table about 20 feet north of you. Um, I don't know. Well, can you see him, Lolly? So do you see the?
Lolly can.
Yeah, the woman I'm pinging. So
Oh,
that's
actually, I guess I can see the woman.
yeah, that's Yala. There's a man sitting across from her, Orand. Those are the Gralhuns. I think just to pad out some of my description before, yeah, they do wine and general mercantilism. They also work in arms and mercenary services. Um, and that's stuff that Raynar could have explained to you. Um, the only other piece that I want to add, kind of from Raynar, is that there was some assumption a couple years back that when a couple of the lords supposedly were assassinated, the Gralhuns thought that one or both of them would be made lords of Waterdeep, and neither of them were. And their demeanor has kind of gotten worse and worse since then. I think beyond that, yeah. But yeah, so they're sitting kind of looking rather unhappy in the booth to the north of you guys, and Teresa also has where their villa is marked. Let's just say on like a fold-out "Welcome to Waterdeep" map. You kind of got a little X on one of the areas where their villa is located now.
Okay. I'd be sour too if I were a nobility sitting in a dinky bar. But yeah, that is something that we can do, because this is another path we can take.
Lolly would point out that, talking to people in a bar in a relaxed environment where they may or may not had a drink or two would potentially yield more information if we're trying to learn something.
That is true. But he did say it's probably not a good idea, but I'm leaning towards doing it anyway.
Okay, well, I mean, you're the one with the letter, so if you don't want to do it here, then we're not going to. I feel like.
All right then. Well, sorry, I had a blank here. We still gotta take care of the plague stuff in the grave. Well, I will do the proper thing and send them a response letter instead of just approaching them. But because that's probably what Teresa would do.
So the Castellanters are the ones who tried to recruit you very obliquely.
Oh, that's okay.
This is just a different family. Like there's about 100 noble families and almost as many that want to become nobles. The Castellanters, who you met at the ceremony, are definitely one of the more prominent families. Like you have heard of them before. The Gralhuns are kind of new to you since they're not technically nobility, and that's who's sitting kind of up in this booth and who Raynar was talking about. The Castellanters, if you want to go to their villa and talk to them or send them a letter, you're certainly capable of doing so. Like your family probably has some sort of diplomatic discussions with the Castellanters now and then, if only because they're important enough that they'd be part of some Lord's Alliance discussions that your family would be part of. But beyond that, I don't know if you know the Castellanters very well. These are different nobles. Sorry. Or different wannabe nobles, if that makes sense.
All right then. Well, that solves the issue there. So I'm probably just gonna talk to these people.
So as you close up with the table, you do notice, kind of tucked way back in the corner, next to Orund, is a very intimidating orc bodyguard, dressed kind of incongruously in a fine suit that barely conceals its form, or his form. The orc seems to be almost somehow, despite its size, despite his size, tucked into the corner of the booth, just kind of watching everything outside of the booth as Orund and Yala, as you approach, kind of look up from their drinks, and Orund says, "Oh, who are you? We're busy drinking." And you see Yala kind of reach out and just lightly slap his hand and say, "Miss Portier, it's so nice to meet you. We saw you at the ceremony. Congratulations. How are you enjoying the city?"
I did not expect people of higher society to be drinking in the corner of a dusty old bar.
And Yala gives out a kind of fake laugh as you say this. The kind of polite laugh that somebody gives when they're trying to paper over what they think is a faux pas. And she says, "Well, you say it's a dusty tavern, but it's one of the most famous taverns in all of Waterdeep. And Mert and Yalister are here, so we can't be in that bad of company, can we?"
Of course. Where are my manners? I am not quite familiar with the yawning portal. Still, the two of you did catch my eye, so I was curious and came over. How is it? How is your night tonight?
Orund is about to open his mouth, and you hear a slight thump under the table, and then he kind of draws his breath in. And Yala says, "We're having a lovely evening." She kind of glances aside at her husband. Just wanted to get out of the house. It's so crowded lately, and come enjoy the night air, have some wine. The Yawning Portal does have some interesting wines available, even if it is a little rough around the edges. And so often it's fun to see if the commoners decide to go down the pit. It's always entertaining. And you see Orund give the first genuine smile you've seen on his face all evening as she says this. But just kind of getting out, and now we've had the pleasure of meeting your company. What brings you to the Yawning Portal tonight?
I am here with my companions to experience the nightlife of the city, so to speak. Some are a little bit more talkative than others, I have found.
I mean, certainly, I can't help but having noticed, and please don't take this the wrong way, but you've definitely made some rounds tonight as you've talked to everybody. Is there anything in particular that we could help you with, or that you're, trying to, uh, if your family needs any help with any uh, business, we'd be more than happy to assist you.
And she smiles. Ah, the only thing that I need right now is information.
And Oren says, "Well, we can help anybody for a price." And you hear another thump under the table, and Yala says, "Of course, we can help the Portier family." And she looks across the table at her husband, and he just takes another drink out of his wine glass. And Yala looks back to you and says, "What kind of information are you looking for?"
Well, there's a few minor things that I am investigating, but what is currently on my mind is what is the current whisperings of things going on in Waterdeep?
And Yala says, "Well, And she kind of looks around the tavern very surreptitiously and leans in and says, "I've heard that Xanathar is making some play for some treasure of some sort. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but we've been trying to steer clear of his kind and trying to kind of shore up our position, if you will. Um, I'm not sure if that's the sort of rumor you're looking for, but if you wanted any further details about what Xanathar's been trying to do, I'm sure if you gave us a visit at some point, we could discuss mutually beneficial relations between our families and information exchanges."
I would be most happy to entertain the idea.
And Yala smiles at this and gives her husband another glance and says, "Well, I think we're going to be quite busy tomorrow, but the day after, I'm sure I can be available whenever you want to stop by the villa. We'd love to entertain you and discuss matters further."
Of course, especially in the matters of dealing with treasure and preventing scum from getting their hands on it.
Oren gives a satisfied grunt when you say preventing scum, and Yala says, "Well, uh, are you aware of where our villa is? I would not presume that you would know where a family such as ours lives. I could definitely uh, give you some directions if you would like to come meet us the day after next."
Yes, if I have time to spare, I certainly will.
And Yala reaches out and snaps her fingers at the orc, who reaches back and gets out a sheaf of paper and a quill, and Yala quickly writes their address down on a piece of paper, along with the name of a one of the palanquin services in town, and says, "If you speak to any of the bearers in this service, I'm sure they can get you directly to our address. Here it is, and I will make sure that we are more than ready to receive you whenever you want to come calling."
Of course. Of course. If this turns out to be a very good lead, I just might put in a good word to those that are of higher status.
And Yala nods her head and says, we would be grateful if we end up being of service to your family. And, any good fortune that comes our way would be graciously accepted.
The courtiers are welcoming of any and all allies. Now, if you excuse me, I have to make sure that the rest of my group is not breaking something down.
And Yala will smile somewhat awkwardly and say, Of course, of course. Please return to your friends. Thank you for spending the time with us.
And then table. She turns to the rest of the group. If you're willing to take some time off within the next 2 days, I may have some leads that might lead to a bit of treasure hunting. But first I have to verify if they are legitimate.
Unfortunately, I have the business to attend to in the City of the Dead, and there's no way I could take off doing anything else until I absolutely finish that business.
Yes, business with the graveyard. Hopefully we can conclude that as soon as possible before it spreads. That I may need to do a little bit of a further research.
I believe that we have a lead.
I think you've got 2 right now. There's the Candlekeep lead, and there's the Druid and Undermountain lead.
Oh, I forgot about Candlekeep. I forgot to tell Alex about that.
Oh yeah, Candlekeep. If we go out of town, follow the path north, then we hit to Candlekeep, which is a city of mages and books. But in order to get in, you have to provide them a book that they don't have.
Gibbles does have a pile of books that he took from the Tomb of the Nine Gods that I completely forgot about, but may be able to satisfy that requirement if you guys want to do that. But yeah, so Candlekeep is Liz, out of character, are you familiar with Candlekeep?
Yeah, I've read a little bit about it.
Okay, so giant library citadel full of books. I don't remember which session it was, but somebody noted. Teresa. Yeah, you had been given.
Yeah.
The guy at the Blackstaff Academy. Your contact over there had indicated that he knew of a couple books at Candlekeep that may or may not, like, they might touch on the magic involved. I think the other lead that you have is from Durnan. I think had noted that there was a druid that lives on the 5th level of Undermountain. It's like 5 levels down. That he's not sure if that druid has anything to do with it, but if he had to guess about plant-based zombies coming from underground, that's his best guess. I think those are the leads you guys have gotten so far. Durnan being the bartender of this bar for Liz's character.
Okay.
I think in regards to what we know so far, Candlekeep might actually be an easier path to take.
I would agree with that.
Well, I always love going places where I can learn new things.
Oh, you will learn a lot in Candlekeep. Or so I've heard. I've never been to it myself, but it's a place that I've always wanted to go to in life.
Well, excellent. I suppose we should bring our large horse friend with all of our fancy special rare books and see if we have something that they just can't live without.
Yes, you do have to present a piece of literature that they do not have yet. I do believe that our halfling friend nicked a few things from the tomb that we visited.
We we could also ask Volo if he has a new version coming out soon.
So, I just love the thought of an unpublished Bolo manuscript getting you into Candlekeep. Okay, sorry.
That whack? Are you sure?
It's technically a volume you wouldn't have. Sorry. I shouldn't laugh about
See,
it.
I'm thinking outside the box. All right.
I like it. Oh. Well, I'm going to give you guys a second. I'm going to go to the bathroom while you guys devise what plan you want to do next, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
I mean, I was actually going to go to the restroom too, so I'll be right back.
That's fine. I was just gonna go lay down for a second.
I am back. Lio, can you awake? No. Do we have anyone else here, or did everybody go away for a minute?
I'm here, but Rio's not.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm just laying down.
You laid down so hard it disconnected.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Whoa, what'd I do? There we go. Okay. So before Rio left, did you guys have any set course of action you want to follow next, or did everybody just head on?
I think we all want to go to Candlekeep, as far as I understood.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's probably getting late in the evening. You guys want to head back to Troll Skull for the night, or get a room for the night and head out in the morning, or are you looking to head out now? Kind of, how do you guys want to head out of town today?
Well, how long does it take with like horses versus carriage versus walking?
I think it was about a 3 days walk, probably a day and a half by carriage. think the path to Candlekeep, kind of changing its location from where it is on any maps, if you've ever seen. I don't know if anybody has the context for what Candlekeep is, but I'm going with it's about a day and a half by horse, about 3 days walking south of Waterdeep, kind of on a rocky outcropping over the ocean, just down to the south. The paths there are pretty well traveled, so you're fairly certain, as long as you just stick to the roads and head to Candlekeep, you should be able to make decent time. The route's not known for a ton of danger.
Okay, well.
Yeah, we might have to take a carriage there because I don't. I'm trying to remember the mechanics of teleportation circle. You have to.
Has to be
see
where
it
you
first.
where you've been before. Like you have to know where the tele have visited or traveled through it. I think
It's the sigils. You need to
You
know
have
the
to have been there
sigils.
before.
Yeah. So I don't think any of you have any teleportation sigils into water or into Candlekeep.
Yeah, I definitely don't.
I don't think many people do, to be blunt. It's known as a place
Right.
that is rather hard to get into. But you can definitely go there and try to get in. That's fine. So I guess more like, do you guys? Yeah. When do you guys want to try and head out? I'm just trying to make sure I keep track of time to some degree.
So if it's gonna take like a day and a half to get there.
So I have a calendar now. It's currently almost midnight on the 4th of Marpenoth. If you guys were to head out tomorrow morning, you could probably get there by midday of the 6th. And then obviously if you come back, you have to, repeat the journey back after hopefully you acquire what you're looking for. So it's probably like a 3 or 4 day round trip, you would guess.
Okay, well, let's all go.
Yeah, let's go. I will try to figure out to. I will try to figure out to do like a sending to the Grolans to let them know I'm busy.
So let them know you'll be back in like a week to meet with them.
Yeah.
Is that a fair? Okay. Cool. Okay. I'm about to try something that might break something. So we'll see what happens. Okay. So yeah, I'll assume head back to Troll Skull, spend the evening, get rested, hire a coach the next day. Does anybody want to do anything before you guys head out?
Yeah, I wanted to see if I showed the drawing of the amulet to Teresa, if it looked like anything to her.
The drawing of. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that again?
The drawing of the amulet that I got from Raynar.
Oh, that green thing. Okay. Well, I mean, I could try and. Do I have? What are my skills? Let me see. Ah, damn! I don't have that. I don't have Jill crafted. But let me try and do like a history on it. I guess that's okay. I'm doing a history to see if that amulet design is familiar to her?
Let's see. So I'll say the amulet design doesn't strike you as anything particular from history, but it does remind you a little bit of the three eyes on it. Do remind you of the aboleth that you met in the Tomb of the Nine Gods. It kind of has a very
The
stylized
talking
similarity.
fish guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the one that was extremely friendly about wanting to eat us.
Okay.
She would say that this reminds her of a creature that she encountered in Chult, in the depths of Chult. And that creature was some sort of aberration that dwelt in the water. It's quite friendly, but it had no problem reminding us that if we fell into the water, it would be very quick to eat us.
Huh. Intriguing. Was it? Did so you communicated with it then? What was it? A magical creature? Was it a creature that had powers of any kind? Was it perhaps a lost deity?
It was what we in the arcane community define as an aberration. Aboleths typically can be found on a different plane,
Ah, intriguing.
usually in the aquatic bound planes, such as the plane of water.
I wonder if potentially this amulet could have been something that channeled to another plane. Intriguing.
If I were to have that in my hand, I'd be able to tell you more.
Yes, at some point we will need to see if we can track it down, but for now, we can continue to Candlekeep.
Candlekeep, I can't wait. She is just like books, books everywhere. I can learn all the spells that I want.
Like a noticeable increase in Teresa's demeanor as you guys get ready to go to the Candlekeep. Uh,
Yeah, she's happy. Yes, of course. Candlekeep. Let's get a good night's rest and then we'll head out first thing in the morning.
has Teresa ever been noticeably happy before? I'm just curious.
No. She's always either got a thin, neutral face or she's angry.
Cool. Okay.
Or she is happy when she's killing things, so there you go.
Okay. Does anybody else want to do anything before we get in a carriage and go to Candlekeep?
Nope, we're good.
Cool. So it's a pretty uneventful day. I wonder, do I have a map of the Sword Coast handy? Can't even remember. I don't think I even have a map of the Sword Coast. So I will just, I guess, pop us out to Waterdeep just to get the music changed. So you guys head out on carriage. The voyage itself is pretty uneventful. The coast is beautiful for those who kind of enjoy that sort of stuff. Uh, as you finally get to Candlekeep itself, it is a quite imposing structure. I'm going to post an image over in the general channel as soon as I find it. So as you get to Candlekeep, it's kind of a multi-leveled castle monastery kind of looking thing on an outcropping of rock. There's a main gatehouse, and behind that gatehouse, there is a bridge kind of connecting to the main body of Candlekeep itself. You arrive midday on the second day. Like I said, you're on a high road, so it's honestly a pretty boring trip. I'll say at this point in the time you guys spend in the carriage heading down there, is there anything anybody in particular wants to do, or are you all just what? Yeah, is there anything you want to do on the way down, or do you just want to ride to Candlekeep?
Isn't there a stop we have to make along the way?
Do you want to stop on the way?
Well, you said it's a day and a half by carriage.
I mean, yeah, you can either, yes, if you want to stop, you can either camp or try and find an inn to stop at.
I mean, if we don't stop, then isn't that like a level of exhaustion?
I mean,
You hadn't
if you
really
want
thought
to,
about
I
that,
can
yeah.
throw up a Leoman's tiny hut on the side of the road.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could camp, you could throw up tiny hut, you could try to find an inn. There are small towns along the way. And by small towns, I mean very small towns, like enough that you could stop the carriage there for a night and probably find a less than desirable inn to stop at. But there's definitely very small towns along the way on the high road south, because you're kind of on the main high road that goes south from Waterdeep down to Baldur's Gate. Like I said, it's a relatively safe road. But yeah, if you want to find an inn or find a place to camp, you can definitely do that. It's up to you guys. I don't have an.
I think we just find a little motel.
I don't have an ambush planned. Like going from big city to big city is not necessarily, or fortress monastery is not. Yeah, if you guys want to stop,
What
you guys
kind of
want to stop
combat
and rest.
DM are you? Jesus.
Sorry, I can go find a table and roll on it if you want to get ambushed in the night. Trust me, I have plenty of combat scenarios planned. It's just I prefer to have them planned for like scenarios where they make sense. If a bunch of level 3 bandits attack you right now, we'll just spend 45 minutes letting you guys kill some bandits. Yeah.
Yeah, but if the bandits are there and they're gonna rob us, that's what we have to do. You gotta do what you gotta do.
We're just being. We can move on.
A band of bandits attacks you. Please describe how you kill them all, because they are way underpowered for you guys right now. Sorry, I don't have a critical role stabbing somebody through the chest to create a new character moment. The one part of that campaign I was do sneak attack for 26. You crit. Good job. Wait, is that the damage, or is that the? Did you just roll a? What is that? No, sorry, that's damage. Well, the attack would actually miss. A 10 would miss the bandit. So Lolly, you get overwhelmed and eaten by bandits because they're also cannibal bandits, and now you need to roll a new character.
The last time Joe killed a character, he literally kept hitting a tree, and the tree kept hitting him back, and it killed him.
Well, the tree collapsed on me, so.
Fair enough. So you find an inn. You have a passable meal. You wake up the next morning. For anybody who partook of the ale at the inn, it was not good, and you have a mild hangover from the ale. Not so much a hangover; it's just like a headache of really shitty ale. And you get on the road, and I mean, I'm assuming you guys are heading straight to Candlekeep to try and find these books that you were looking for. Is that a fair
Yes.
assumption? So you get there. The description I gave of Candlekeep before, again, a towering fortress monastery library type thing. As your carriage pulls up to the main gate and you all come out, a pair of robed monks come out from a very large gate that has an obvious portcullis that can be dropped in front of it. The portcullis is not dropped now, but they come out from a side door, walk up and say, "Hello, welcome to Candlekeep. Are you familiar with the rules for admission to our monastery?"
Why, yes, we believe we have brought maybe even 2 or 3 texts that you may not have.
One of the monks raises an eyebrow and looks to the other and nods. The second monk heads back towards the gatehouse, and the first monk says to you, "If you have a selection of books you would like to present, I can take them as quickly as possible to be reviewed to see if they exist in our collection. And if they do not, we're happy to admit you. In the meantime, my associate is fetching some tea to make the wait less onerous for you."
I would like to ask if we were to give you all 3, would that perhaps grant us visits in the future, or should we simply hold on to them with the risk that we might not be able to bring them back?
Oh, we're not going to take anything you don't willingly give. I can simply have the books reviewed and then return to you, and you can make whatever decisions you'd like to make about entering our monastery or continuing on your way.
Very well. Just thought I'd ask.
You know, more people should ask more questions of that nature. You have an inquisitive mind, don't you? Well, that said, do you have the volumes in question? I'd hate to make you wait out here any longer than necessary if we already have these in our collection.
I'll ask Xanthiel to hand us the books and see what we can.
Isn't it or Gibbles?
Wait, does Xanthiel or Gibbles have them?
Xanthiel grabs the stone chest that she's been lugging around on her back and just drops it in front of the monks. Starts rummaging around in it.
The monk takes a step back.
Oh yeah, it's like 600 pounds. So maybe don't get your foot near it.
Not looking like off put by this, but just not wanting to actually get not wanting to accidentally get a toe under hoof, if you will.
Uh-huh.
Just trying to make sure that they leave with all limbs intact. I can't remember how many books you guys had, because I know you and Gibbles both took piles of shit from that room. So I can't.
I think Xanthiel just took shit that wasn't like immediately grabbed by anyone else.
I think, does Party Loot have that in it? I don't know if it matters all that much, but let's go look at Party Loot. Where's Players? Party Loot? Where'd Party Loot go? Inventory. Oh my gosh, I forgot how much stuff you guys have. This is what I get. Oh, did I not write all that down? I'll have to go listen to the recording again. I think you have lots of books. So I think you guys had some Pardon me. Sorry about that. I think Teresa has a bunch of spell books that I've sent you the info on.
Yeah, I have a couple of spell books from the Red Wizards
And I think,
and spell books from Asira.
yeah, and then Gibbles and Xanthiel, you both of you grabbed, I think, some of the history books from.
Yep.
Yeah.
From a Cyrex term.
Yeah. So you're just grabbing 3 of those to hand over to see what they come back with? Or
Yeah.
what do you want to do?
Because
Cool.
I mean, the other option was that Xanthiel does keep a journal, but like he probably wouldn't part with it because she didn't make a copy of it yet, and I'm not sure that it'd even count.
It's a good question. Because, I mean, if somebody's dead, we consider their journal very valuable. But if they're still alive, it's just considered rude. Anyway, so you give the first monk the books, and he'll nod to you as he takes them, and he begins walking back to the gatehouse. And as he does so, as you're putting things back in your trunk, the second monk will walk back out, and sure enough, he has what looks like a very small collapsible table in one hand, or tucked under one arm, and a tea kettle with a stack of cups on a tray in the other hand. And he comes out, kind of whips the table down, puts the tea out, sets the cups out nicely on the little fold-out table, and just kind of pours tea for everybody and says, "Please have some while you wait." I mean, I know this is inconvenient. It's inconvenient for everybody, but the least we can do is at least warm you up. Sometimes the wind out here is a bit biting. Gestures at the tea again.
Oh, thank you. Xanthiel will take part, I guess. As amusing as it might be to have like a 9-foot centaur drink like tea out of a fucking teacup.
So you have your tea. Does anybody else partake of the tea?
Liz will too.
Cool. About 10 minutes passes. The monk sits down, grabs one of the cups, and starts sipping themselves from the teacup. She kind of gets lost in staring at the waves crashing kind of off below the promontory that you're all standing on in front of the gatehouse. And she just sits there kind of blissing out while she sips her tea. And y'all are standing on this spit of land in front of a gatehouse, waiting for the other monk to come back. Does anybody want to do anything while you wait, or do you just wait for the other monk to come back?
Teresa's gonna go wandering, looking for books to read.
I just wait.
So you find, Teresa, a very sturdy stone wall blocking any possible pedestrian entrance to the bridge that leads to Candlekeep proper. Yeah, I think that's about it. There are no books outside.
Oh, F in the chat. Okay. I'm sure there's stores and things, right?
Are there any windows?
So you can see, so to the store answer, no. Somehow this has not become a tourist trap. The promontory you're on is actually, as you observe it, actually looks pretty defensible if a military occupation or a military event happened. The gatehouse itself, as you look up the wall in front of this, or crossing this spit of land, is the wall goes from cliff edge to cliff edge, and as you look at it, there's actually crenellations and matriculations that look like if somebody tried to bring an army to attack Candlekeep, they would have uh, at least not an easy time of it. And the spit of land you're on, the longer you sit there, the more all of you realize it is very exposed. Um, the question that you had, Liz, what was your question? Are there windows?
Yeah.
Um,
Liz is just staying there, but just out of curiosity, if there's windows.
so in the towers and buildings beyond, you can see plenty of windows. Um, from the point you're at, so in that picture I shared over in the chat, you can tell that most of the windows look conveniently out of longbow range. Um, the bridge behind the wall goes just far enough that you can't see the bridge, but you know it's there. Um, the rest of all the buildings are set back far enough that it looks like most not concerted attempts to get into Candlekeep are thwarted both by the geography and the architecture of the location that you're at. But there are plenty of windows uh, that probably, I'm going to make a number up now, but probably like 600 meters back across the bridge behind the gatehouse that you're in front of.
Okay, sounds good.
So more time passes. Eventually, the monk.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to cast something.
You're going to cast something?
See if it'll link. It will not. Awesome. I was going to cast Commune. But it is in my spell list because I don't think Roll20 likes.
Yeah, I'm looking it up real quick. You contact your deity or divine proxy to ask up to 3 questions that can be answered with a yes or no. Okay, what questions do you ask?
Well, I would ask Savaris if the knowledge that we are seeking regards this, I'm not really sure what to call it, infestation? The plant plague thing? Can be found in the walls of this Candlekeep.
You get a yes. You get a yes.
Oh,
it's
sweet.
It's just yes or no's, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just yes or no.
You get a yes.
Sweet. Well, I open the floor to anyone else if they want to ask, I guess, the god of knowledge and magic. Any questions? But she's not exactly
Probably
being
ask
silent about
very
this.
frivolous questions.
Yeah, like
Let me think.
what's your favorite color?
Unclear.
That has to be yes or no.
You might receive.
Can I purchase a strong spell in this castle?
Can you purchase a spell in this castle?
The strongest spell in this castle.
The strongest spell?
Yeah.
No, you cannot.
That's a silly question. Okay.
You cannot purchase.
I mean, it's a ritual spell, so I can keep casting it, so I don't mind.
Let me think of a serious one here.
You're right.
Is this unique plant plague thing of mortal creation?
Yes, is the answer.
Interesting.
Okay, so someone created this then. So it's not just like naturally occurring or from some far off plane. Okay.
So,
well, I think the next question for me probably would be if this can be eradicated completely by conventional means like fire or acid or things like that.
Um. So I think the answer, Xanthiel, that you get back from that question is, uh, if you have enough.
Great.
enough.
Need to go find myself a bottle of Roundup.
Nice.
And I think your ritual comes to a close, and your connection to Savras dissipates after the third question. Uh, and
Shiny.
as you finish your ritual, all of the tea has gotten a bit cold. It's rather windy out here, and the monk sitting at the table says, "Well, this is taking some time, but this isn't abnormal. I'll be back momentarily. Please don't take this as any sort of negative uh, adjudication of the tomes you've gotten. Sometimes this can take an hour or two for them to fully search the records." And she begins clearing up the tea set and the table, kind of taking cups back from folks if you've finished your tea. And she proceeds to gather up everything and take it back to the gatehouse. Uh, and then she comes back a few minutes later. She left the table out. She comes back out again, and she has a tray with some bread on it and a knife, and she sits down and begins slicing bread. Uh, and she slices off a few pieces from the loaf of bread and says to all of you, "Please, if you're hungry, please have some. Uh, we don't mean this to be any more inconvenient than it needs to be. We just need to make sure we take the addition of knowledge to the monastery very seriously." And she picks up one of the pieces of bread and begins to nibble on it.
Now I'm actually curious whether centaurs eat like grass or not. Shit. I don't know. I have no fucking clue.
Are you a grazing species?
Uh,
If anybody cares to eat, you can. It's bread. Um, does anybody else want to do anything as you all wait on this promontory of land?
No, not me. She will be keeping an eye out for anything.
After
Lolly's just looking around, being impressed.
after about 45 minutes of waiting, unless anybody wants to do anything specific.
no. Xanthiel will just re-enchant her armor again.
Okay.
Like she has to do it every day.
Sure. After about 45 minutes, the second monk returns, bearing all three books. She comes out and places the books. The first monk, the woman, she clears some space, and the second monk places the three books down on the table. And he says, "Well, I have good news. One of these tomes is new to our collection, so I am pleased to welcome you to Candlekeep. I'd like to give you some basic rules that we ask all of our guests to follow, since you've been granted admittance. All books in the monastery are considered inviolate. You can peruse anything you want in the general collections. As we get inside, we have docents who can direct you to specific areas of research. Most of our magical tomes are kept apart from the main tomes. There are special collections that we have. If you would like to investigate some of those, we would like to have a short interview process just to ascertain how you plan to research and what you plan to do. And if you need to spend any time at the monastery, we have meager accommodations, and we can provide food and drink to you while you're here. Nothing fancy, but you are more than welcome to come in. And I must say this seriously again, all of the books are meant to stay here unless you get permission from one of our senior docents to take a book. But if you would like to take notes or transcribe anything, you're more than welcome to. If you think for some reason there's something in one of the special collections you need to see, please just ask one of the docents and we will determine if we can give you access to some of the more volatile collections we have.
As soon as he's done describing everything, Liz is going to just immediately ask, where can we find information about undead and mosque? Oh, I can't even just speak right now, but
Fungus.
yeah, where can we find information about a seemingly undead fungus or something of that sort, and maybe figure out some things?
So Teresa, so the male monk looks interested by this and says, "Well, we definitely have a multiple collections of both normal horticulture and more mystical horticulture. I'm happy to take you to the general collections and the more arcane collections and the docents who are overseeing those. Um, I think we have a few wings devoted to that. Are there any specific tomes that you are looking for?" And I think I gave. Did I give you titles of books, Teresa, or did I just say I gave you 3 titles?
From Assyric?
No, from Eddard Schraff, the guy at Blackstaff Academy.
Oh, no, I don't recall getting titles.
Okay, let me check a couple things here because my note on this either didn't save or I didn't come up with it. He did give you 3 specific titles to investigate. Uh, the first one being Fungus of the Far Realms and Other Related Matters. The second one being Undeath and the Conditions of Zugtmoy. And the third one is the Journal of Xanthoria.
Oh, Fire Rim shenanigans. Oh, super cringe. But she will mention those 3 books. In particular, I think that we should start with the information about that abyssal creature, Zugtmoy. Because Zugtmoy, of course, is a demon lord that rules fungi. She is the queen of fungi. So, fungi that causes undeath probably would definitely be up her alley. However, I wouldn't put it past the Far Realm shenanigans to happening as well. Nothing seems to make sense in the Far Realm.
Here, I've just tossed 3 book titles in chat for you. Yeah. Kind of paraphrasing, but yeah. So you want to check out the fungal species of Zugtmoy first?
Yeah, I would.
Sure. So the male monk gestures for you to follow him. The other monk begins collecting the plate, knives, bread, table, etc., to take back to the gatehouse. Um, the first monk brings you all in through a side door to the gatehouse, and you pass through a small antechamber, um, and then go through another door on the far side and find yourself on about a 500-meter uh, rocky bridge, cobblestone bridge going from the promontory you've been sitting on that spans a pretty precipitous drop to the waters of the sea below, and begins walking across and says, "Please do mind the wind. If we're looking for Zugdmoy, I think that book is in one of our normal collections. Let me guide you to it. Again, watch the wind as you cross the bridge, and you all can follow him across the bridge. The wind is, in fact, very strong. Uh, you don't feel like you're actually all that in danger. The bridge is about 10 meters wide. It's a pretty substantial bridge. As you get across the bridge to the far side, you walk through another gate, this one open, into a broad, simple cobblestone courtyard. It looks like there is, in fact, kind of a hostel almost of sorts, a lodging space for visitors. You see there's a mix of monks traversing the courtyard, and there's also, it appears to be some, you would probably guess, wizards or scholars hurriedly going from the hostel back and forth into various wings, and he takes you into Candlekeep proper. As you get in, you realize there are multiple tiers to this monastery, and he takes you up winding staircases through a few more rather small plazas. Many of them have either a fountain or small gardens, and he ends up taking you to a set of doors adorned with carvings of uh, plants and other botanical items, species around the doorway. Opens the door, brings you in, and there's a very nice library in this chamber. And there's a desk at the front, and he takes you to the docent who is manning the desk and says, "I believe this group is looking for the fungal species of Zugtmoy. Could you assist them in locating that tome?" And the docent looks up, looks at all of you, and takes you into the stacks of this botanical library, and eventually pulls a tome from one of the shelves, brings it down, and places it on a table and says, "Please, there's no restrictions on this tome. Feel free to copy any information you want from it. Uh, do not remove the tome, and when you're finished, please return to the desk and let me know, and I will reshelve it for you." And that docent monk walks back away after they have taken the book down for you. You have the book in front of you on the table. Sorry, I cut somebody off.
I was just gonna say, yeah, because I immediately want to dive into the book and start going through it.
Yeah, I think with your druidic knowledge, the book is a fairly lurid description of uh, stories and tales of reports of Zugdmoy's influence on. You do note some druids who have fallen to the sway of Zugdmoy. You note from the reading that it seems uh, shockingly possible for druids to get enchanted, is maybe the best word, by Zugtmoy's influence and kind of shift from actually following the tenets of their circle to uh, making deals and then summoning horrible blights or plagues. Most of these have to do with small town druids who have uh, fallen under the sway of Zugtmoy and then basically brought ruin to their lands or their community if they're actually integrated into the community. Um, you don't notice anything that particularly matches, but you do see a theme in this tome of uh, druids and other power hungry people. For those who are not druids, of basically being seduced by the power that the fungal demon lord gives. Um, Most of these stories in this tome are detailing conversion of living creatures into fungal servitors of the demon lord and the eventual ruin of those who fall under her sway.
So, not great. So, from my understanding of reading this, then somebody's probably, acting on her behalf and creating this havoc, really.
Yeah, like you definitely see a theme of basically good intentions gone wrong or uh, power hungry fools kind of falling uh, under the sway of Zugtmoy, but none of the descriptions as you kind of leaf through this tome seem to really match the exact things that you're finding.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. It really describes it well, and if there's any suggestions it gives on anything or how to decipher what it is and how to handle it. But not in this book.
Yeah, this is almost all of the all of the examples you find in this book are either uh, like they kind of fall into three broad categories. Like I said, there's the druids who get seduced basically um, by the influence of the demon lord. There's wizards and sorcerers who um, basically either make deals or who try to tap into the power of Zugtmoy and through their folly just fail. Basically, they become corrupted by it. And then there's a couple stories of very weird situations where there's like small town farmers who somehow manage to summon Zugtmoy or one of her servants, and then it just basically destroys their village. But these again, all of these have to do with basically living things kind of corrupted by Zugtmoy. The piece that's missing in this tome is there's really nothing about the undead here. Um, so like you've got a general architecture for how somebody could fall to Zugtmoy, but it doesn't seem like there's any burning answers to the specific infestation you're seeing in this one.
Okay. What's the next one then?
There's go ahead.
We were talking.
So the other two books uh, that were on the list that Teresa got were Fungus of the Far Realms and The Journal of Xanthoria.
Let's look at the Fungus of the Far Realms.
Cool. So you go back to the docent, uh, ask for the for that book. She kind of she consults It seems like she has some sort of magical card catalog in the form of a book in front of her. She writes the name of the book down, uh, glances at it for a second, and says, "Ah, yes, okay. Um, please follow me." And the docent takes you to another shelf in another part of this library and pulls that down from the shelf. Uh, and again, gives you the same instructions of please feel free to read it, take whatever notes you want, come back to her when you're done with the book.
Okay. So I'm just gonna flip through this book too.
This one is even more lurid than the last one. Uh, you get the impression that Fungus of the Far Realms was. It wasn't written by Volo, but it was written by somebody very similar to Volo. It's just very ribald tales that I would say, as you read it, and Teresa, if you look into it, uh, both of you can tell that there's almost nothing of actual value. This almost looks like somebody just wrote a bunch of fiction based on rumors, and after 10 or 15 minutes of leafing through it, you're pretty sure that this book is just it's garbage. It should probably somebody got their way into to Candlekeep with this book, and it hopefully helped them out, but it's not helping you guys.
Well, ripperoni on that one. So next one.
Yeah.
Because I do know the knowledge is here. It's just
I
Well, we don't know it's here, but we assume
Well-
that it should be.
well, unless my god was lying to me. Yeah, you know.
so you go back to the docent again and give them the title of the final book, the Journal of Xanthoria, and she writes it into her magical card catalog, and she arches an eyebrow and says, "Please excuse me, I need to get one of our more senior docents for this particular book. If you don't mind waiting, I will see if she's available and return, and let you know either if she can see you now or if we have to find a time. Is that okay?"
Sure.
And she nods, closes the magical card catalog she's been writing in, uh, and disappears off into the stacks. Um, she's gone for about 10 or 15 minutes. Do you guys do anything in the meantime or wait patiently? What do you do?
Xanthia sorts every book in the entire castle by the Dewey Decimal System.
That's going to take more than 15 minutes. So you have devised a strategy for doing so.
No, she's just going to do it in a really small section.
So, does anybody else want to do anything besides Xanthiel's reorganization of books on one of the shelves next to you?
Yes. One moment, though.
What are you investigating?
Seeing if I can decipher any clues from, like, any of the books that are around us, if anything else could potentially help us.
So as you peruse the kind of the uh, aisle of books near you, you actually get the impression that most of the books in this botanical section of Candlekeep are. Pardon me. So in this botanical wing, most of the books are literally just horticultural guides to various crops, various, you assume, beautifully illustrated volumes of field drawings and watercolors. There are some fungal books, but it doesn't. It looks like you're kind of in a more mundane section of the library. Um, there's doesn't seem to be a whole lot of beyond the two you've seen. There doesn't seem to be any uh, deep well of magical tomes. You're kind of in the farming, gardening, and uh, plant competition section. So you don't see anything that jumps out to you from the tomes in this area. The overwhelming impression is this is the safe botanical books, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Um, does anybody else want to do anything?
No, Liz is just patiently.
Sorry, my finger slipped off. She's just patiently waiting.
Yeah. So after about 15 minutes, the docent you were speaking to and a very slight wood elf woman come walking back down the aisles, and the new woman that you hadn't seen before walks up to you, nods to her docent to go reshelve the books. She heads off and says, "Hello, my name's Xyleth. I'm one of the avowed here at Candlekeep. Uh, my associate has told me that you've come looking for a very interesting book. Um, we do have the Journal of Xanthoria here. I would like to ask what your intentions are in investigating this tome."
We are having issues in Waterdeep, and my druid knowledge is lapsing in this subject area. It's something I'm not familiar with, nor any of the other druids in the Emerald Enclave. So we came here looking for more information on the fungus that seems to be taking over the city of the dead and causing quite a bit of havoc.
Her face opens up a little bit as you explain this, and she notices the badge that you have, uh, actually giving some credence to your status as a member of the Enclave. And she says, "Oh, okay. I was wondering if something like this would happen. Um, please follow me. Come back to my office. Sorry for the walk and sorry for the wait, but hopefully I can assist you. We don't let this tome leave Waterdeep, but or Candlekeep, but let's go back and I can tell you a bit about this." And she begins walking off, gesturing for you to follow her through the stacks to her
Yeah,
office.
I follow her immediately.
And as you're walking, she says, "So this book came to us. An adventurer had been delving into Undermountain, and they had uh, gotten into some sort of underground forest and found this book abandoned in a satchel uh, in what they described as almost an abandoned abbey or something like that. Um, they brought it here, and I've been studying it the past few months, hoping it was false, but uh, it appears that a druid in Undermountain maybe have dabbled into uh, madness or devotion they shouldn't have. But maybe the book will make more sense than me just describing it." And she, after a brief walk to the end of the stacks, shows you into her office. Uh, and as you all come in, she has lying on the book or on her desk a book that is warped and encrusted with lichen, so much so that it can barely be closed. The book is just kind of bulging and distended. Um, and she says, this is the Journal of Xanthoria. Uh, I could either let you guys read it directly, or I could give you my investigations on it so far. And then if you have any questions, let me know. I guess it's really up to you how you want to approach this.
Yes, we have heard of this druid in Undermountain as well. Um, and it would be wonderful to hear your take since you've been studying it, as well as being able to actually maybe look through it a little bit more from what we have seen there in the City of the Dead.
And can I do an investigation roll with my eye for detail to see if I can pick out anything that seems relevant as our host goes through the read or goes through her read through?
Sure. Um, yeah. So she begins describing a tale. She says, "So it appears in the Willow Wood in Undermountain." Maybe let me take a step back. So there's a druid, Willow, who somehow came under Hallister's sway. Are you familiar with Hallister the Mad Mage and that information about Undermountain?
Yes, relatively.
Okay. So apparently, just to give you the briefest sketch, Willow's been there for quite some time. She was a druid who came down with her uh, wizard husband, who had apprenticed to Hallister, um, and unfortunately, her husband died. But Willow decided her husband's quest for knowledge was so important that she would honor him by staying in Undermountain, uh, as she had grown accustomed to it. But that's kind of tangential. Somehow, in the past few years, at least from the journal here, if it's accurate, this journal was written by a druid named Xanthoria, um, hence the Journal of Xanthoria. But it appears that Xanthoria, Willow was withdrawing from the world around her, and Xanthoria became concerned that being in the middle of this cruel menagerie that Hallister has created down there, uh, there were there were undead coming up from below. There were drow and Duragar coming from above. She began researching to try and figure out if she could create some sort of fungus or lichen that could help defend uh, her new home that she had found with Willow. Um, and she was trying to create some sort of weapon to repel all of these forces coming at her. Um, but it seems that eventually she became obsessed with warding off death itself, as opposed to just fighting the invaders. And this is where the journal starts to get really confusing. Xanthoria's mental state really seems to deteriorate. Um, it all kind of devolves past a certain point from describing her experimentation to just um, repeated nonsense phrases. So my best guess is at this point that Xanthoria is still down there, um, and this fungal undead incursion that you're speaking of, that's actually interesting new information. I'm assuming that she discovered something uh, that allowed her power to spread out, and go more from a defensive stance to an offensive uh, expansion of this fungus and lichen. Um, Unfortunately, it doesn't seem she didn't really. By the time she made whatever breakthrough she made, The writing became nearly unintelligible. The last 50 or 60 pages, I don't even know what they mean. It just seems like somebody who descended into madness. Um, the only piece that I can find in here that may be salient is so far you've just seen um, fungal undead. Is that what you're trying to put an end to?
Yep.
Sorry, what was the question?
You're trying to put an end to fungal undead rising in the city of the dead in Waterdeep proper.
Well, and there's been issues with undead as well, but
Okay. She did write some things before it goes completely bonkers about a plague she was making. So I'm not sure if your undead are that plague or if the plague is something else. Um, but I'd have to assume that Xanthori is still down there. And probably, if you want to put an end to this plague, you may need to go find her.
yeah, we ran into some interesting creatures that seemed to be an extension of this fungus that were undead, of course, and it seemed to go pretty deep. Uh, and hence, we kind of wanted to know what we were getting into before we really delved into it.
Um, well, I've kind of given you the synopsis of what I know, at least. This isn't the only tome I've been studying. I'm definitely happy to uh, allow you to investigate further um, into this tome on your own. Uh, if you'd like to do that, you can. Otherwise, I can put it away. We've been keeping it kind of locked up, if you will. This is a little bit more dangerous of material. We don't want somebody else to try and replicate her research. Uh, do you want to continue investigating the book on your own, or what would you like to
Yeah,
do from here?
we're looking at it on our own.
So Zalith nods and says, I will, if you don't mind, I would like to have a docent here just to oversee you. I would prefer this book not leave my office. Um, so please feel free to take your time, um, investigate, read through the book, take whatever notes you want. I will have one of the docents come to just be present in case any of you don't take this the wrong way, but if any of you start to do anything weird, we can make sure that Xanthoria's madness stays in the book and doesn't translate to any of you. Probably won't happen, but just want to make sure. So I guess I'll leave you to it and send one of my docents. I have other work to do, um, but I mean, please let the docent know if you have any questions. Um, is there anything else I can do for you besides leave you with this thing? She gestures at the book.
No, that'll do it. Thank you so much for all of your help.
She nods and heads out of the room. Um, from here, if you guys want to research the book, I can basically, depending on how much time you want to spend going through it, it's about 300 handwritten pages. I can either, based on how much time you want to spend digging into it, I can kind of tell you what exactly is in the book, um, or go from there. So, how do you guys want to dig into this journal?
I kind of want to know more about what the crazy ramblings are and if there's anything that seems to make sense of like what we saw and just the proliferation of how much fungus was there and then how really the undead and the fungus work together. And maybe there's any scribbles in her madness about things like that.
Yeah. If you're okay with me talking for a minute, I can basically just give you the description of the book, and you can ask me any questions. Um, but I can just kind of go through exactly what the description of the book is. Um,
Sounds
so
good.
I'll say it'll probably take you guys a couple hours to get all the way through it. But so the book's written in common. It begins pretty dryly with a bunch of scientific essays about symbiotic relationships um, that you would find in nature, and it starts to deteriorate into confused ramblings about the merits and similarities of life and death. Um, it describes Xanthoria's experiments, both kind of normal and getting more and more into the druidic and then bleeding into the arcane uh, on these topics. There's an incredibly thorough discussion of the life cycle of a worm parasite that infiltrates wasps, that takes over their motor functions while wearing their bodies, so that the wasps can basically the parasite can masquerade as a wasp. Um, Eventually, through some of the scribblings, uh, you start to get the impression that Xanthoria figured out a way to link her soul to the life force of other creatures and potentially prolong her own life. Um, and then there is a recurring theme of her fear of uh, invaders coming into the Willowwood. It seems like she had developed an almost unhealthy obsession with Willow and figuring out a way to stop anybody else in Undermountain from getting to Willow or herself. Um, Again, there's a huge recurring theme of symbiotic relationships that naturally occur in nature. Um, there are some digressions into research on the undead, trying to figure out if there's a way to use the mechanisms of undeath to prolong or improve similar qualities in those who are still alive. Um, Eventually, it descends into just gibberish, just fragments talking about wanting to combine natural life and undeath. And then at the end of the book, as it starts to become almost completely incomprehensible, uh, there are several failed attempts that Xanthoria used to try and combine herself with uh, lichen and fungus, to basically suffuse herself into the willow wood, and become the willow wood. There's lots of drawings of dissected animals and humanoid creatures, alongside some comments about maybe they should use fey creatures. And then it just starts to devolve into basically gibberish. Like, there are words on the page that are all normal words, but the way they go together doesn't make any sense. And then it just abruptly ends at the end of one page. And then there's about 30 blank pages at the end of the book.
Sorry, out. It's almost 12 for me, so I'm gonna head out here.
Yep. Well, have a good night. Let's see here.
Right. Good night, everybody.
Two patterns that you find towards the end of the book are the words Mycorgi and Shedalak, over and over and over again. And I'll put them in chat real quick. But these words, even in the gibberish, appear over and over again. Mycorgi and Shedaclaw. I can speak. So those two phrases, or those two words, appear over and over and over again in the parts of the book that start to get just completely insane. And I think after a couple hours of reading through it, that is about what you guys can glean from it.
Okay, interesting.
I think that once we go through all that, we'll write down the information to, keep it. But I mean, I don't think there's any more I can do right now other than just write down the information and keep it.
Sure. I guess just ask me. I don't know if I'm gonna try to dump all of this into chat right now. Yeah. So that's kind of the self-written journal of Xanthoria. So she's definitely in the Willow Wood, or at least was in the Willow Wood when she wrote this, as that's where the journal came from. Any other questions about any of that right now?
No, well, right now I think we need to kind of digest it and go over it at another time. But I don't think that, yeah, not right now.
Okay. Laokin, anything from you?
Not really. Like, my character's not an academic, so I don't think she has any real place in any of this yet. So,
Knowledge.
and none of it's to do with the Feywild, so.
But she's good at smashing.
She's great at smashing, but unfortunately in a giant library she can't do a whole lot, so I kind of been zoning out.
Wow, people write a lot of books, huh?
It's like, yeah, those look like books. I barely know how to read, so, yeah, that's good.
Okay. So at this point, it's probably getting on towards. You're solidly in the evening of the day. Just because you got here about midday, hung out outside for almost an hour, and then have spent a couple hours perusing books. Oh my gosh. Pardon me. I am also tired. Just to get some context for next session, do you guys want to spend the night at Candlekeep? Do you want to investigate anything else at Candlekeep? And what's your?
I think we should just stay the night at Candlekeep before we should just get started on a fresh day.
Cool. Does anybody, after you guys finish up, do you have any idea what you want to get into the next day, i.e., next session?
Well, I just want to explore more with, I don't know, see if there's any more information. Maybe I was kind of thinking next session or whatever, and Candlekeep looking through to get some more information where, what she could have done to build up those, powers and stuff like that, other than her, crazy ramblings.
Okay. Loey, anything? Why did I call you Loey? I know you by.
I thought it was a new pet nickname you had that we just didn't know about.
Oh, it's a
That's
name.
how everyone says Loy's name.
Rio, Loey, Lolly, Kellic. I have so many names for you now. It's ridiculous. Is Loey interested in anything here right now?
No.
Oh, okay, cool.
He's intrigued at the investigation, but nothing else specifically.
Okay. So basically, I've got Liz got that. I'll check with Teresa. And cool. Okay, then I think after you guys finish up with that journal, Zalith comes back eventually just to check in on you. If you guys want to stay at Candlekeep, she'll take you to kind of the guest quarters. All of the rooms in the guest quarters are fairly Spartan but nice. Decent beds. Like, everything's well made but not extravagant. Xanthiel, for you, they kind of ask how you prefer
She
to
just goes to a
stay.
stable.
They're like, we have stables if you want to stay in one of those. And
I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know where else she'd go. Like,
Yeah, I like how I just have this recurring thing of how does the centaur work? Um, but yeah, they have
yeah, it's tricky.
I mean, they have a nice, decent enough stables. So if you want to stay there, you can. Otherwise, they're like you can stay there. You can stay in a room. I don't know.
She can talk to the other horses.
You can talk to the horses. Do you speak
Yeah.
Equine?
She has the spell tongues, so she can
Okay.
speak to anything. Actually,
So I guess if you have
Or any
any
creature.
if you have any burning questions of the handful of horses stabled in the main courtyard stable, you can interrogate them overnight. But I think I'll wrap it there because it is also midnight for me.
Very late.
Yeah. Cool. So we'll pick up hopefully next week. I think next week I'm good. I might need a week or two off after that just because of travel plans. I don't know. I have to look. Thursday's technically clear, but we'll see.
We'll be there.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, thank you all.
Yeah. Okay.
Another no combat session. Compare that to
We
this.
tried.
Compare that to
We
this.
did try.
I know. I didn't want to throw in bandits for no goddamn reason. I think we'll have plenty of opportunities for combat. Like I've said many times, I prefer combat to actually matter as opposed to just fill time. So that's kind of my take. But don't worry, there are many things you could fight if you guys go that way. But we'll get there. Cool. Are you good tomorrow, Lyokin, to do the alternate?
I sure should be.
Okay. How much combat do you think there's going to be tomorrow?
A fair bit, I bet.
In the martial arts tournament game?
Yeah, maybe.
Cool. Well, I'm going to go to bed. Thanks, and talk to you all soon. Bye.
Yeah, thanks for running by.
Bye.
Okay.